Michelle, it's so lovely to meet you today. We've known one another for quite a while and we run into one another every now and again, but it's so nice to come to your home and interview you for the joy of working after 60 plus.
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 Big plus.
And I believe you are the plus.
I try to be. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So our audience is interested in knowing what you do and also why you do it and why you enjoy it so much.
Well, I'm a minister, and I'm probably a little different than most, which is fine as far as I'm concerned. And I have a bit of a different kind of call. So for the last 35 years, I have been a minister, as I said, with a very much of a pastor's heart, which means really a shepherd's heart. So really, really care about people. Which that's the only thing I think that we can really truly affect is people. So anyway, I grew up in church, as most people did in my era. I am 70 now. So
you are plus?
I am definitely plus. I thought you were maybe talking about my, size.
Oh, no, I didn't mean that.
So I was a little concerned
I meant
there
in age.
for a moment. Okay.
So that explains the stare.
That's right. What?
Are we getting into that?
Gee, you were baking. Anyway, so anyway, I grew up in church, and when I was a teenager, I was and I'm a smart kid, but we were very poor, so I did not have an opportunity to go to university or college or anything. So anyway, I noticed as a youngster that something was wrong, like there were fighting and ridiculous arguments, and I think just part of the gifting in who I am is that I've always loved people and just really concerned maybe about the kid that nobody talked to or that type of thing. So I've just been, that's just part of who I am. And so I left church at 17. And then shortly thereafter, I got pregnant by my husband of now 50 years, but we weren't married at the time. And so thus began my adult life. And so we've had 4 months after we're married, we have this highly intelligent kid who knew his alphabet at 15 months. And because I'd never had any experience with children, I wasn't really somebody who was like, oh, I can hardly wait till I have a kid. I just really wasn't me. And so I thought all kids were like this, that they just knew their alphabet at 15 months of age. And then 2.5 years later, we had our Paul, who struggles with autistic spectrum disorder, probably in the Asperger's area, but very complicated. And so began my journey as a 20-something of just being like, there's got to be more to life than this misery that I'm living. Couldn't go to a coffee anywhere with anybody, and it was really bad. It was really bad. This one morning, and I was supposed to be skiing in Ellicottville, but I was so depressed that I knew I couldn't ski. And so, well, not that I could ski even if I was. Because I was really pathetic at skiing. Anyway.
Well, you were going to give it a try.
Yeah, well, I was going to have a try and have a good time. I needed some relief, So anyway, I couldn't go. I couldn't go. And so that morning, fell asleep in a cup of coffee. And I literally woke up and I went into the bathroom and there was this circle board in my forehead where I'd fallen asleep in this coffee mug. And I can't, it's hard to explain because don't forget, I'm not believing that there's even a God, right? I go upstairs to my bed, I fall on the floor, and I say, if you exist, come and help me because I don't want to live like this anymore. Anyway, I get up off my knees like about, 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, and my whole life has changed. My whole life has changed. And I began on my journey in 1982 of a life with God. And in about 3 years later, I went to Bible college. And then right after I finished Bible college, I got a job full-time in a church in Burlington. And then it just kind of went from there. Within about 5 years, I went off on my own and began working in a ministry that I founded called Northern Praise Ministries that worked primarily in the music industry.
Oh, okay.
So the most sensitive people.
Okay.
Both my sons are sensitive people. One has autism, one is a genius musician, and they are very creative and very sensitive. So that's kind of what happened.
So actually you were telling me earlier that this is not really a career for you.
No.
This is your calling. And so I can see how this calling came to you through the progression of your life and some of the challenges that you had, and perhaps would you call it epiphany? Or do you call it something else?
I would call it a smack up the side of the head. I mean, it was
Okay.
way more than an
All
epiphany.
right.
Anyway, the real estate agent phones and says, I've got this couple that are looking to rent something in Oakville, want to come out and look. So that was that night, actually. It was February 22nd. They come out, and a little bit of a ditzy couple, you know, like, of course, we were so depressed, so anybody happy was like nuts.
You know, they were
You know,
ditzy.
yeah. How dare you be happy in the midst of my depression?
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, I just had this calm about me, and they are here to start a new church in Oakville in 1982, and I'm in myself going, no, 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 you know, because they wouldn't have known. I had called out to a God that I didn't believe in and said, please send me something, help me. And so that began my journey.
So that was almost like a tap on the shoulder to sort of reinforce what you had gone through a little earlier. It was to reinforce your calling. Right?
It was, well, I didn't even know what a calling was at the time, and I had no idea what had happened to me. I really hadn't.
No.
I had no idea what happened to me. I just knew I was better. And so anyway, this couple came, they rented our house, which relieved the financial pressure, and they were starting a work in Oakville, but weren't going to be back for a couple of months. Yeah. So anyway, so I spent those months going, and the pastor was saying, you need to get yourself to a church. And I was afraid to get myself to a church. I went, no, I don't like church. I'm not. And so anyway, I was sustained during that time. April, they moved back. It was Paul, my child with autism. It was his birthday. I think he was going to be 10. And they actually arrived with a birthday cake and said, God told me that it was somebody's birthday today.
You have a huge wow.
It's a huge wow.
It's and it's very intricate as well. It's not just a sudden thing or pulling together of all the things that you've done in your life. It was a lot of, like you said before, a slap in the side of the head as
Total
well, right?
slap.
Was there anything when you were young that would sort of have any kind of indication that this would be your calling in your adult life?
Funny that you say that, because you would not know this. When I was a little girl, I always loved to perform and sing. And my dad used to run the Brown Derby in Toronto.
Oh!
So it was kind of in our family. And
only people of our age will
remember the Brown Derby.
Okay,
so it was Toronto's hot spot. So the Brown Derby was refurbishing the whole place, and Dad got all the old Brown Derby stuff and brought it to our house in North York and redid our basement like the Brown Derby. All the booths, the bar, you know, everything was red.
How old were you?
I was only the times I remember the most, it would be 9 to 11, because I moved up north after that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Dad made this whole thing, and we'd be up at the bar and we'd be singing, how dry I am, how dry I am, in Playtex pants, how dry I am, how dry I am. And so we would putting all these little plays all the time. This lady was visiting us. I have no idea, I can't remember who she was, but she took me to a church one night, on a Sunday night. She was living with us. And I can't remember all the details, but they said, okay, who wants to sing something? Honestly, I was like 5. And I'll go, I'll sing something. And I sang Jesus Loves Me, which is one of my CDs now called Jesus Loves Me. Yeah. And so, yes, it was all there. I had to find it.
Yeah. You've continued fairly strong with your calling, and you know, others of us would call it a career. And we want to take it into our 60s. Now, there are some women that, you know, we get a little tired as we go along, and there's sometimes when we think, you know, I can't hack this anymore, and you know, you get pressure from friends and family, like, it's time for you to retire, right? So how do you respond to that?
Well, how I respond to it is, if I weren't doing this, I would die. There would be no reason for me to be here. It's as simple as that. I'm not the kind of woman who enjoys lounging around, reading, and having a cup of tea. Yeah. I'm just not, and that's okay with me. That's not my joy. I mean, we take holidays. We just came back from a 50th anniversary for 4 weeks away, and I don't especially like to travel, but my husband loves it, and so I just love my life. And so there would be no reason for me to not do what I do, because I affect a lot of people. And I help a lot of people, ranging right from parents with people with learning disabilities because I've really learned some stuff with Paul, to all the same principles that go right into running a business. If you're not serving your people, if you don't have their best interests at heart, and you try to make money, it's not going to work. And so whether it's, and then I still deal with people with addictions, I deal with very difficult people that most people wouldn't even invite into church. So I'm a mama to a lot of people.
So you embrace everyone.
I embrace whoever God shows me. So for instance, there's a lot of people that I wouldn't necessarily be a good link for. And there's a lot of people that aren't really interested in changing. So, or be bettering themselves.
Or being open to a different possibility.
Being open to another possibility. And so all that stuff. So I'm not for everybody, but those who I do link with, I can be very helpful. We've had a lot of successes. Yeah.
What's your next big project that you're working on?
Well, I've got a 10-year, okay, so I'm 70,
Yeah.
and I've got a 10-year plan. Because I figure I can still be walking over the next 10 years. And so I'm just launching into a intensive course about getting on significant stages to take this message that unconditional love for others is really a smart thing to do. So it's an intensive course. We had to identify, what am I a passionate expert at? I am a passionate expert at teaching and expressing unconditional love. That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
And that's what you're going to continue doing.
Yes, and that will take me on all kinds of adventures. And my husband's 100% behind me.
Now, your work with people in the music industry, is that what led you to develop or produce the CD?
Well, I started songwriting. I've never songwritten in my life. And I play piano a little bit, just enough to come up with melody and chords and lyrics. And I had no idea.
And How Dry I Am?
Well, that's an old commercial. So I was still in Bible college, actually, and I just started coming up with these songs. And so I'd sit at the piano and figure it out. And I went, well, that's kind of good. Tried to give them away to people because I don't think of myself as a great singer. I'm a good singer, but I'm not a great singer. And I'm a great harmonizer, but I'm not a great lead singer. So I tried to give these songs away, and they would go, my gosh, those are great songs, but you need to do it. I didn't have a clue how to do a CD. So anyway, the door was open for me to do my first CD, finished in 1991. So I've done 4 now. And so I learned how to do it. And I just, because I learned how to do it, I've been able to help countless people do theirs. And they're way better singers than I am, way better artists than I am. And so my call was still to undergird them and to help them be their very best. So it wasn't so much about, hey, yay me. It was about, this call was still on me to help people convince them that they're loved and that they've got something significant to give. So that's actually been that journey as well. So I did my last one. It was a Christmas CD, I think about 3 years ago now, and it was a compilation thing. Anyway, it's been so exciting. But I did the same thing with playwriting. I don't know how to write a play, but I was really shown, I need to write a play. This is what it looks like. I just
You'll figure it out, right?
I figured it out, and we raised a lot of money for Salvation Army here in Oakville. So yeah, it was. So when someone comes to me and I can't do it, and I don't think I can do it, and I go, shut up. If I can do it, you can do it. I'll help you, and I'm a great connector, so I could tell them which producer to go to. I could tell them which producer not to go to. Yes.
Because that's often what holds people back.
That's right, because not everybody is going to be a good fit, just personality-wise. So some producers want to just run your project. And I said, you need to find somebody who's going to produce what's in your heart. So that led to a JUNO. A JUNO in 2000. With my dear friend Deborah Clausen, one of the most talented people I've ever met, who now lives in Nashville. And Deborah had a vision and really a dream about doing a particular CD, which was not all that popular in that era. So this is 1999. And she was really dissed in Nashville. It was like, oh, you're going to ruin your career. You're going to do this and you're going to do that. And I go, well, then that's not where we need to do it here. We need to do it in Canada. And I'm going, we can do this. So I became the executive producer. And literally, I sat down. And this was like a download from heaven because I can't add anything. And we had $50,000 in 3 days. And we,
oh my goodness.
And so we were able to do a phenomenal CD. The fellow that ended up producing it had just had a whole project cancel on him. And so really what I did as an executive producer was I set up appointments, I helped with the artist to keep her going, I managed all the finances, which is a complete joke for me. But anyway, we did it. We got 10 investors at $5,000 each.
Wow.
We were able to pay them all back at a rate of about 13.5% when, so it was just, and it's like, honestly, it was, again, don't tell me you can't do it, because if I can do this stuff, you can do this stuff. So we ended up getting the JUNO in 2000 for a CD called Legacy of Hope, brilliant CD. It's not even music that I like, because I like R&B and rock and roll. And this is a very orchestral, phenomenal CD. And yeah, so we got the JUNO.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that's a great place for us to end this interview with just one piece of feedback I'd like to give to you. And that is that you have mentioned often about figuring it out. And it sounds as though somewhere in your life, you got that message that whatever you wanted to do, even though you don't know how to do it, you'll figure it out. And I acknowledge you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you enjoyed the video today, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. Check out the links below. And remember, take care of yourself, do what's best for you, and don't jeopardize what you have built for yourself.